CEO shocked. Poor girl's incredible ultrasound reveals hidden truth about the son no one expected. Emma sat in the library, the silent sanctuary where the chaos of life felt miles away. The warm sunlight filtered through dusty windows, illuminating her textbook strewn across the table. But today, despite her will to focus, a weight pressed heavy on her chest, leaving her mind racing like a runaway train. The ticking clock mocked her, seconds slipping away as if to remind her of all the dreams her single mom, Maria, had sacrificed: a college scholarship, a chance to escape the financial struggles that loomed like a storm cloud over their lives. She had worked tirelessly, pouring everything into her studies. Yet now uncertainty shattered her resolve. An inconceivable twist of fate had turned her world upside down, and the quiet library felt more like a cage. Her breathing quickened. The pregnancy test still lingered in her thoughts like a ghost. The absent father, the societal disdain, it made her stomach turn just thinking about it. How could she face her mother now? Would she be proud or crushed? The weight of new responsibilities canceled out the ambitions she had diligently built. A voice inside her reminded her that choices she never wanted to make now dictated the course of her life. Who was she becoming? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With her heart thumping in her throat, Emma thought back to the ultrasound appointment. The technician's crisp voice had shattered her reality. The baby isn't just a child. He carries the legacy of a fortune. A CEO you've never met. Her breath hitched at the memory. Who was this man? Did he even know she existed? Would he care? The anger brewed inside her. This child was meant to be hers, to raise without the shadow of wealth overshadowing them. She thought of all the judgments she could already sense creeping into the whispers of her classmates. The townspeople who eyed her with disdain. Pity mixed with disgust, as they categorized her as that girl. Emma clenched her fists tightly, her nails digging into her palms. She felt trapped in an impossible paradox. Should she protect her child's future, or her own dignity? The belief that hard work and determination could carve their path seemed laughable now. All the privileges she had longed for were tied to a fate she hadn't chosen. How could she confront this hidden identity, this CEO, when she stood at the edge of a financial and moral abyss? Would he reject her, ignore her plea for recognition of their son? Or would she just be another poor girl seeking charity from a powerful man? The clock struck, signaling her appointment was close. She envisioned the moment he stepped into the room, the confrontation that would lay bare their lives before them. A powerful man against a lonely girl. Would he see her? Not just as an unplanned future mother, but as a person. Emma took a deep breath, fighting to steady herself. There was no hiding from this moment. The door creaked open, and all intensity faded into the reality of her vulnerability. Would the CEO honor the legacy entwined in their lives? Or would their son become a pawn in a game neither would want to play? The stakes were high, and deep down, a feeling of dread coiled tighter around her heart. Emma's pulse quickened as she faced the imposing figure stepping into the room. She hadn't pictured this moment vividly. The anticipation felt heavy, laced with both fear and necessity. He was taller than she envisioned, well-groomed, wearing a tailored suit that seemed to render her faded jeans and hoodie insignificant. In that instant, she felt all the layers of her identity peel away: the driven student, the dutiful daughter, the self-reliant young woman replaced by sheer vulnerability. He scanned the room, his gaze landing on her with an intensity that made her heart race. There was no denying the weight of the moment. She was about to confront the man whose existence loomed over her like a specter, intricately woven into her life's sudden upheaval. "You must be Emma," he stated, his voice smooth yet commanding, filling the space between them. "Yeah," she replied, trying to mask her quavering tone with defensive bravado. "I had to talk to you." He offered a brief nod, an acknowledgement that felt more like a tactical maneuver than genuine concern. The silence stretched awkwardly as he moved to take a seat across from her, his presence imposing. She could feel the sweat formulating on her palms, her fingers curling tightly around the armrest of her chair. "About the baby," she said, forcing the words out, her mouth dry. Each syllable felt like a stone dropped into a well, sinking deeper into the abyss of uncharted territory that lay before her. "The ultrasound," he interrupted calmly, leaning forward, his interest piqued. "You're claiming I'm not claiming anything," Emma interjected, finding a flicker of fire within her. "I'm telling you what is true. Our son, your son, has a familial connection to wealth that neither of us expected." That silenced him, the weight of her revelation palpable in the charged air. Much of what she wanted to say negotiated with the realization that, beneath his polished exterior, uncertainty resided. Perhaps, like her, he stood at a crossroads, grappling with a future molded by an unforeseen legacy. "Why didn't you contact me earlier?" he asked after a tense pause. "Because I didn't know how," she exclaimed, the emotions bubbling to the surface bitter and unyielding. "I'm just a girl from a small town who found herself in a situation I never wanted. I'm scared, and I don't even know if you'll care." His gaze softened marginally, and for a brief moment she caught a glimpse of a man perhaps wrestling with the implications of such unexpected news. "I don't know what to say either, Emma. This isn't just a legal matter to discuss, you know." The vulnerability in his eyes narrowed her world down to one pivotal decision. She had a choice. This wasn't just about seeking justice or recognition for her son. It was about asserting her place in a reality that threatened to suffocate her ambitions and desires for her child's well-being. "No, it's not," she murmured, her breath steadying. "It's about understanding what kind of father you will choose to be, not just for the baby, but for us." With that statement, a shift occurred within the room. Emma felt a surge of empowerment. She wasn't merely a passive observer in this narrative. The weight of the conversation shifted into something more collaborative. He hesitated, taking a moment before responding. "You're right. I've spent my life harnessing my career, never thinking about family about this." Emma's heart raced. Perhaps they were both on the brink of transformation, both unprepared, each facing the uncertainty of new identities as a father and mother. "Maybe we can start to figure this out together," she replied, each word cautious yet hopeful. As the conversation unfolded, Emma sensed a change within herself, a stepping stone towards clarity in the chaos. This unexpected dialogue thrust her toward unearthing the power she possessed to influence both their futures. This wasn't just about the legacy of wealth, but about carving out a new narrative that embraced love and responsibility. Just as the air thickened with unabridged possibilities, a message sounded on his phone, cutting through their moment. He glanced down, his expression clouding over as he read the screen. Could this incoming news jeopardize the fragile dialogue they had just begun? Her heart twisted in apprehension, knowing they were standing on the precipice of something larger than either could fully grasp. "What does it say?" Emma asked, her voice a mixture of dread and curiosity, fortifying her resolve to confront whatever reality was about to unfold. Would this moment redefine their paths, or invite unforeseen turmoil into their fragile start? He looked up, his expression shifting from intrigue to concern. "It's my father," he said, a hint of tension seeping into his voice. "There's been an emergency at the office. I need to." Emma's heart sank. The fragile bond they had started to build now felt threatened by the weight of the outside world crashing in. "Can't it wait?" she blurted, a touch of desperation leaking into her tone. "We were just starting to talk about our son." His eyes softened briefly, as if he could sense the impact of his impending departure. "I understand that, but I have to handle this. It's complicated." Emma caught the flicker of something in his gaze. Was it regret? A moment of connection lost to the demands of his life? "I'm scared too," she admitted, her voice trembling with honesty. "These conversations are difficult, and if you walk away now, it feels like you're rejecting all of it." "All of us," he exhaled, torn. Emma had tapped into a vein of raw emotion that cut through the chaos of his responsibilities. Yet he was tethered to obligations that felt monumental. "I don't want you to think that this doesn't matter to me," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then stay," Emma pleaded, her inner resolve intensifying. "You have to face this if you really want to be involved." The words emerged with an urgency that surprised her. She wasn't just negotiating the terms of a conversation but was fighting for a foothold in the future she envisioned for her son. A storm brewed in his eyes as he weighed her request against the looming reality. Every second that ticked by felt like an eternity. Could she squeeze more out of this interaction? Or was it futile? It had become about survival within his inherited world. A world she dictated less than she wished. "Fine. Just give me a moment." He lifted his phone, his thumb hovering over the screen as he wrestled with the decision. Emma watched the tension transform into determination. "I know this isn't what either of us expected," he began again, looking her squarely in the eyes. "But I need to reassess my approach to this. Perhaps I need to figure out how my father's world can coexist with this one that you and I are creating." "That's a start," Emma said, her heart racing. "But it won't mean anything if it's just talk." There was a change in her tone, a newfound conviction that echoed her role as a mother. Her internal fears fueled her response, igniting a fierce determination to claim her space in this narrative. He nodded, slowly. "You're right." It was as if her words sparked some flicker of bravery within him. Maybe this emergency could become a catalyst. For all of us. They sat there in that charged silence again, minds racing as they tried to forge an understanding between chaotic lives and unprecedented decisions. Emma felt the tension within her loosen slightly, and she used this moment to ground herself in her own upcoming responsibilities. But a lingering question brewed in her mind: how would this encounter, this almost motherly assertion she'd made in light of his world, ripple throughout their lives? Just as clarity among uncertainty began to surface, he stood abruptly. "I need to go," he finally said, but there was a different weight behind it, a promise hanging in the air. "I'll reach out later. This isn't over." His words felt like both a reassurance and a threat. Emma nodded, allowing the moment to settle. There was still a vast unknown stretching before her, but her heart thrummed with newfound resolve. This was no longer just a meeting about circumstances. This was a beginning. As he walked away, the thoughts spiraled within her. What would happen next? She was just a girl from a small town. Yet with each exchange, she was crafting something monumental in her life. Emma gathered her strength, intentional about the decisions that lay ahead. Would the next conversation forge a path toward collaboration or deepen their disconnect? Would she dare to stake her claim in the life they were both about to redefine? Emma stood in the fading light of the late afternoon, yet her world felt sharper than before. The adrenaline coursing through her from their intense conversation transformed into a different kind of energy, focused and purposeful. She needed to take action, to step beyond the shadows of uncertainty that had long plagued her life. After a moment of indecision, she retrieved her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. There were messages waiting, unfinished conversations lingering in the ether of unvoiced thoughts and expectations. She took a deep breath, channeling the determination that had ignited within her just moments ago. This was her moment to shape the narrative, to bring clarity to the fog that had clouded her future. With a steady hand, she began typing. "Can we talk about the next steps for our son?" The message was short, but it carried the weight of her intent. It wasn't just about the child they had created together. It was about asserting her role in his life and his father's world, a world that seemed so distant yet was quickly imposing its will upon them both. While she waited for a response, Emma turned her focus inward, reflecting on her life. Who was she really? A single mother caught between the past and an uncertain future. A woman stumbling through work-life balance, trying to redefine her dreams, while caring for a child whose needs weighed heavily on her heart. She had spent so long conforming to others' expectations. Now she realized that she was tired of being merely a reaction to life instead of an active participant. The silence of the room pressed against her as she mulled these thoughts over. Emma decided to seize control of her story. She reached for her laptop, craving the type of creative expression that had once been a safe haven. Her blog had started as a way to find her voice, a space for her thoughts to take shape outside the constraints of her everyday routine. As she typed, the words flowed freely about the challenges of motherhood, the stigma of being a single parent, and the societal pressures that threatened her autonomy. She wrote not just to express herself but to connect with others who may feel as isolated as she had. Here, in this realm of shared experiences, she felt empowered by exposing her vulnerabilities, building bridges to a larger community of readers who might understand her plight. Just as she hit publish, a notification pinged from her phone, breaking her concentration. A response had arrived. "Let us meet tomorrow. I want to talk about your concerns." The prospect of facing him again was both exhilarating and terrifying. Would he understand the magnitude of her words, the depth of her commitment? This wasn't merely a conversation about their child anymore. This would be an opportunity to solidify her position in a life that felt increasingly intertwined with his and his father's expectations. The following hours were spent in a whirlwind of preparation. Emma immersed herself in her thoughts, practicing how to articulate her desires and expectations. She wanted to confront the underlying fears buried within fear of rejection, fear of judgment from his world, and fear of failing her son. Yet, with each simulation of their conversation, her confidence swelled. The next day dawned, bright yet heavy with anticipation. Emma dressed deliberately, donning an outfit that blended her innate casual comfort with a flair of professionalism. She wanted to present herself as the capable woman she had begun to believe she was becoming. As she stepped into the meeting location, she felt the familiar tremor of doubt creep in. What if this conversation fell apart? What if he didn't take her seriously? The thoughts swirled, but instead of cowering, something clicked within her. She would voice her worth, her desires, for herself and her son. And there it was at the forefront of her mind as she sat at the cafe table. The knowledge that this meeting had the potential to change everything. As he approached, the residual echoes of their last conversation hung between them, ready to be revisited. Emma squared her shoulders, determined to confront the truth of their situation while remaining anchored in her newfound clarity. With his first words, she would have the perfect opportunity to forge a new path. Would he step into it with her, or retreat back to his father's insular world? Suddenly, beneath the weight of possibility, she felt a rush of hope and a hint of impending challenge. The moment of truth arrived. Emma breathed deeply, steeling herself as he drew closer. The coffee shop buzzed around her, but inside, it felt as if time had slowed to a crawl, the air thick with unresolved tension. She couldn't ignore the gravity of what was about to unfold. Her heart raced, matching the cadence of her thoughts. "Hey, Emma," he said, sliding into the chair opposite her, his casual demeanor at odds with the swirling anxiety within her. "Thanks for meeting me," she replied, her voice steady despite the storm building inside. This conversation was pivotal not just for her, but for their son and the life they might build together, or the paths they might choose to take apart. He nodded, a flicker of uncertainty flashing through his eyes. "I got your message. Let us talk about whatever's on your mind." This was it. She leaned forward, a subtle shift indicating her intent to claim the space. "I want to discuss how we're going to co-parent," she began, feeling the weight of each word. "I need your support and acknowledgement of my role in our son's life." His expression shifted slightly, betraying a mix of surprise and skepticism. "I thought we were both doing our best." "What do you mean by support?" Emma clenched her fists beneath the table, a disciplined effort to channel her rising frustration. "It means more than just being there occasionally. I need to be involved in everything: the decisions, education, and especially the emotional well-being of our son." With every syllable, she felt her confidence surging, an unfurling of strength she hadn't known existed within her. "Look, I can't just drop everything," he countered, a defensive edge creeping into his tone. "My life is complicated too, you understand that, right?" She did understand. In fact, his complexities mirrored her own struggles in many ways, but that wasn't the point. "I get it, but I've been juggling my complexities alone. I need you to step up, To invest in our son's future as if it were as important to you as it is to me. The silence that followed felt electric, each second heavy with unspoken possibilities. Something flickered in his gaze, a fleeting recognition of her steadfastness. Emma seized the moment to press further. We can't make this work if one of us isn't fully committed, and I won't settle for being a secondary figure. I'm his mother, and I deserve to make decisions alongside you. He leaned back, arms crossed defensively against her, but Emma took it as a challenge. Every line of her body was a testament to her resolve and a refusal to back down. I thought you'd be happier with a more passive role, he rejoined, his tone softer, almost incredulous. That's the problem, she said, her voice firm. I've spent too long thinking about what I should want, adjusting my aspirations to fit someone else's expectations. But no more. This is about what's best for our son, and I'm ready to create that opportunity together or apart. He blinked, processing her words, the fight leaving his posture slightly. Emma felt a twist of anticipation in her gut. Had she struck a chord? It was a risk she had decided to take, and now all she could do was wait for his response. I hear you, he finally admitted, his expression softening. Let us talk about what that looks like. I want to be there for him. Emma nodded, her pulse quickening with cautious optimism. Perhaps they could carve out a new path together, one that allowed both parents to actively share the joys and burdens of raising their child. But as the conversation evolved, Emma noticed a flicker of unease in his expression, a shadow passing across his features that alluded to deeper issues. Are you really ready to make that commitment? Because there's something you should know. Her heart skipped. What hidden truth awaited her? Ready to unravel the very thread of their discussion. In this moment, the fragile groundwork of her hopes teetered dangerously on the brink of revelation. Emma braced for impact, excitement and fear intertwining. What if this conversation altered everything she thought she knew about their lives? Would the foundation they were so tentatively building together withstand the truth? Emma's breath hitched as she steadied herself, the air thick with uncertainty. The weight of his words hung heavily between them, a tangible suspense crackling like static in the coffee shop. Her heart raced, not just from anxiety but from an instinctive need to stay grounded in the moment. This conversation had become more than a discussion about co-parenting. It had morphed into a profound reckoning that could redefine everything. What do you mean? She pressed, her voice low but unwavering. The resolve within her grew stronger as she maintained eye contact, each second slipping by as they stood on the precipice of truth and revelation. He shifted, once again crossing his arms as if to armor himself against what was to come. There are things about my life, about our relationship, that might change how you see everything. It's complicated. His eyes darted away, unable to meet hers. Emma's pulse quickened. Complicated how? This insistence was more than just probing. It was an intellectual and emotional necessity. The truth felt like a clarion call, one she could no longer ignore. He paused, the tension mounting in the small space between them. Things have changed. My situation is different now. Ifeye Matsumun. Her stomach dropped, a jarring sensation that felt like the ground had given way beneath her. Someone? The word emerged as a whisper, laden with disbelief. He nodded, his earlier bravado cracking under the weight of her reaction. Serious. And I'm not sure what my priorities will look like moving forward. I want to be a good father, but... As he trailed off, Emma's mind raced. It wasn't just about their fractured partnership anymore. This was about redefining herself not only in the context of co-parenting, but as an independent individual who deserved clarity. But what are you really saying? She demanded, cutting through the fog of his excuses. I need to know what this means for us, for our son. The coffee shop's ambience faded into a blur as the world shrank down to just the two of them. Emma felt both anger and sorrow coalescing within her, an overwhelming need to process this new reality. The sight of him, once a figure of support, now appeared distant, clouded by his new relationship. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. I don't want to hurt you, but I also don't want to pretend like everything's the same. Emma clenched her fists again, anchoring herself against the emotional tide. I can't pretend either. This isn't just about you being a father. This is about us navigating a new landscape. If you're committed, that's one thing, but if you're not, I need to know now. She felt the tremors of uncertainty within her, a burgeoning strength fueled by clarity in her demands. Silence enveloped them, weaving itself tightly around uncharted territory. Inner turmoil rippled through Emma, a person who had spent years placing others' feelings above her own. No longer would she shrink in the shadows of someone else's choices. She was prepared to confront even the harshest truths. "I'm not planning on disappearing," he finally stated, a hint of desperation creeping into his tone. "I'll be there for our son, but will you be there for me?" Emma interjected, her frustration boiling over. "This is not just about you anymore. You need to choose who you want to be, for yourself and for him." This moment of clarity cast a sharp light upon Emma's own resolve. He took a deep breath, his hesitation betraying layers of insecurity she hadn't anticipated. "I still need some time to figure it all out," he said, his voice faltering as he retreated into uncertainty. Emma straightened herself, realizing that she had a decision to make too. This was not just about negotiating their co-parenting arrangement. This was her opportunity to assert her identity, and she wouldn't waste it. "Time is fine, but never at the expense of our son's welfare. I expect to know where we're headed together or apart," she articulated, her voice laced with resolve. As their conversation spiraled into a cacophony of feelings and revelations, amidst the chaos of newfound possibilities and emotions, Emma understood that the stakes were higher than ever. The fragile outlines of her own aspirations blurred with their shared future, giving birth to a confrontation she hadn't yet calculated. With a final, deep breath, he murmured, "I don't want to lose my chance with you." The words hung in the air, laden with ambiguity. Emma's mind raced. Did he mean as a couple, or was this about co-parenting? As the truth loomed and their fragile framework threatened to crack, one question echoed in her mind. Was she prepared to unearth what lay beyond her own expectations? But beneath all their uncertainties, Emma felt flickers of determination igniting within. She recognized that beneath this storm lay the potential for growth, provided she had the courage to delve deeper into her own desires and begin the hard work of dismantling the past. As the coffee shop buzzed around them, oblivious to their fraught exchange, Emma resolved herself to take the next step regardless of the outcome. What path would she ultimately choose? And could she pave a new beginning amidst the wreckage of their shared history? The lingering tension held the answer, tantalizing and just out of reach. Emma's thoughts churned, a storm of unresolved emotions and flickering ambitions taking root. The coffee shop's chatter faded into the background as she grappled with the implications of his revelations. She wasn't merely engaged in a standoff with him regarding their co-parenting arrangement. She was on the verge of discovering the very fabric of her own identity and future. Taking a steadying breath, she shifted in her seat. "I need to focus on what's best for our son," she stated, her voice firm yet trembling slightly under the weight of uncharted territory. "I can't lose sight of that just because you've initiated a relationship elsewhere." His eyes widened, the reality of her words striking him as a sobering wake-up call. "I don't want you to think this means I'll neglect my responsibilities," he replied, though his tone wavered, suggesting he felt the gravity of the moment. "Responsibilities?" she echoed, her brow furrowing. "You mean to be present for our son, or to try rebuilding what we once had? You can't expect both to coexist seamlessly." The knife edge of her words cut deeper, unveiling truths that had long been buried beneath layers of complacency. She could feel her voice gaining strength, a subtle empowerment buoyed by the detachment she was cultivating from their past. "This is about moving forward individually and collectively. I need you to understand that I am redefining what it means to be a parent, and that doesn't hinge on your choices. It's about me, who I am, and what I want to be." His expression softened, yet uncertainty clouded his features. "Emma, juggling both of our lives hasn't worked so far," she interjected sharply, "and I won't allow it to continue. I'm ready to carve a new path, one that doesn't hinge on decisions that don't involve me." Emma felt an urge to move past this moment of confrontation. Clarity emerged amid the chaos, illuminating the darkest corners of her self-doubt. She had spent too long as a secondary character in their shared narrative, playing a role that left her unfulfilled. It was time to seize the reins of her destiny. Maybe we could find ways to manage this together while still allowing us to grow apart, she suggested, testing the waters of collaboration. We could establish clear boundaries that honor our commitment to our son, but also respect our individual journeys. His gaze flickered, grappling with the implications while he attempted to mask his trepidation. You really believe that is possible? The question hung heavy, a challenge that invited reflection. Could they transform this conflict into a collaborative effort for their child's sake? I have to believe that is possible, she asserted, feeling her confidence swell. For our son's sake and for my own. I deserve the chance to discover who I am free from the constraints of our past. At that moment, an internal revelation struck her. The ability to forge this new identity didn't rely on him or anyone else. It lay wholly within her grasp. Determination flooded her veins, pushing her towards a world brimming with possibilities. As they discussed logistical arrangements and co-parenting schedules, Emma realized how easy it would have been to remain ensnared in their previous patterns. Instead, she envisioned a future grounded in independence and self-realization. The shadows of despair evaporated, replaced by unrelenting hope. But just as Emma felt the spark of empowerment, an unsettling thought broke through her triumph. She hadn't yet considered the emotional toll this process would entail. How would she navigate the complexities of co-parenting with someone moving forward in another direction? As she concluded her initial thoughts on their new arrangement, her mind buzzed with both excitement and uncertainty. Emma knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. Each decision would require mindful consideration and courage. Let us take it one step at a time, she suggested, a hint of vulnerability slipping through her armor. But as they reached the end of their conversation, she harbored an unsettling feeling that the hardest parts still lay ahead. Would they, in fact, be able to build something new around their child? Or would the weight of past grievances continue to threaten their fragile future? As they prepared to leave the coffee shop, Emma stepped back, glancing at their reflection in the window. A woman filled with determination, uncertainty, and a fierce resolve stared back at her. The potential for growth was tantalizing, yet shrouded in doubt. Could she truly redefine the narrative? Or would the remnants of their shared history intervene, pulling her back into familiar patterns? With one last deep inhale, she turned to face the unknown, ready to confront whatever lay ahead, stepping into the light of her own potential. Even as questions loomed over the horizon, Emma left the coffee shop feeling lighter yet tethered to a sense of foreboding. The air was crisp outside, invigorating her senses while amplifying the uncertainty that loomed over her. Each step she took echoed her resolve, but beneath that strength lay a persistent thrum of anxiety. She was stepping into the unknown, a territory she had long avoided, and it felt both exhilarating and terrifying. In the days that followed, Emma approached her work with the same newfound tenacity that had ignited her inner fire during the conversation with her ex-partner. She threw herself into projects with the intent of redefining her professional capabilities. Her desk, once cluttered with reminders of old responsibilities and half-baked plans, transformed into a space that reflected clarity and ambition. Her manager, noticing the shift in her demeanor, called her into the office for a chat. "I see you've been taking more initiative lately," he observed, leaning back in his chair. "Have you thought about taking on a leadership role in the upcoming project? Could be a fantastic opportunity for you." Emma paused, the question rippling through her mind like a pebble skipping across water. Leadership was a territory she had shied away from, preferring to remain in the background where she felt safe. But something stirred within her. "Actually, yes," she responded, surprising herself with the confidence that flowed from her lips. "I'd like to spearhead it." The decision marked a monumental shift. Each day brought its set of challenges, from late-night meetings to unexpected obstacles in project execution, but she found herself invigorated by the struggle. No longer was she feeling like an afterthought in a bustling office. She was a driving force, shaping not only the project but her own evolution. As weeks passed, She juggled the complexities of her co-parenting arrangement alongside her new role with the determination of someone finally claiming her narrative. Phone calls with her ex, once fraught with tension, evolved into more strategic conversations. They navigated their son's schedule with an air of professionalism, devoid of the emotional undercurrents that had previously defined their interactions. Yet, as her newfound independence flourished, Emma couldn't shake the gnawing doubt that lingered at the edges of her achievements. Each success in the workplace felt shadowed by questions of inadequacy at home. Was she doing enough for her son? Could she balance her ambition without sacrificing his well-being? The weight of such dilemmas invited deeper reflection, pushing her to examine the core of her motivations. Determined to forge a sense of balance, Emma signed up for a parenting workshop focused on navigating the challenges of co-parenting after separation. Sitting in the circle of strangers, she listened intently as they shared their experiences, some filled with hope, others laced with lingering resentment. She began to understand the critical need to confront her own lingering bitterness and fears. During one session, a facilitator presented a thought that hit her like a jolt. Every relationship serves as a mirror, reflecting our strengths and weaknesses back at us. Each interaction she had with her ex was less about who he was now and more about unveiling the parts of herself she needed to confront. His decisions were mere reflections of where she had felt powerless. It was time to take ownership of what she could, starting with her own responses and expectations. As the workshop concluded, Emma felt an electrifying shift within herself. She left the room with not just new skills but a roadmap for navigating her life personally and professionally. The path was still uncertain, fractured with potential setbacks, but she was no longer afraid to walk it. Yet, just as she summoned the courage to embrace this phase of growth, an unexpected message appeared on her phone from her ex. "Can we talk? There's something important we need to discuss regarding our son." The sudden urgency of his tone reverberated through her, a potent reminder that while she was redefining her own narrative, outside forces were always at play. What could he possibly want to discuss? Anxiety tightened its grip. Would it be another hurdle, or a chance to solidify their co-parenting foundation? Her heart raced as the implications of the message settled in. What awaited her at the other end of this conversation could unravel all she had worked to build. Emma took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever was to come next. The moment of truth loomed ever closer. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the message as waves of uncertainty washed over her. She hadn't anticipated this moment, yet it buzzed with urgency. Holding her phone tightly, she felt an electric mix of dread and resolve. This conversation could redefine everything she had confronted and rebuilt over the past weeks. Telling herself to breathe, she set her phone down and poured the last of her coffee. The bitterness of the brew mirrored the knot in her stomach. Could they achieve a genuine partnership? Was it too late for that transformation for both of them? Visions of her son's beaming face kept intruding, reminding her of the stakes. He was what mattered most, and somehow that pivoted her thoughts back to clarity. After a moment, she decided to respond. "Sure. Let's South meet at the park tomorrow evening." As she pressed send, she experienced a flicker of anxiety followed by a surge of empowerment. Instead of retreating to her anxiety, she was actively engaging, facing these unknowns head-on. Emma was determined to remain firmly grounded in her newfound journey, even if her ex threatened to derail her. The next day, Emma arrived at the park early, pacing as her thoughts raced. She felt well prepared from her recent workshop experiences. Still, the prospect of facing her ex wandered eerily into unsteady waters. The uncertainty of their past hung in the air like thick fog. What kind of news would he bring? Could he still surprise her? As she waited, she mentally reviewed her co-parenting goals, the balance she sought, the communication barriers she aimed to dismantle. Could she still articulate those aspirations in the presence of emotionally charged exchanges? When he finally arrived, Emma immediately noticed the tension etched into his features. His face was a mixture of reticence and earnestness, and she wondered if he too felt the heaviness that hung in the air. After they exchanged cautious greetings, they found a bench beneath a sprawling oak, surrounded by children's laughter and ironic backdrop to their serious conversation. Emma took a moment collecting her thoughts. "So what's this about?" she asked, striving for a tone of calm authority. He hesitated, glancing down as if searching for words on the ground beneath them. "I think we need to talk about the health insurance for our son." His voice came out steadier than she expected, but she sensed the weight behind his words. A knot tightened in her chest as she prepared to engage with logistical challenges. But before she could respond, he added, "And I found out something during Willett's last appointment. I'm not sure how to tell you, but I want you to hear it directly from me." Something churned in Emma's stomach, a premonition ignited by the gravity of his tone. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath. "The ultrasound, there might be complications." His gaze was steady but pained, searching her face for a response. Her heart raced. What kind of complications? As he began explaining, Emma's mind turned over a cascade of thoughts: concern for her son, apprehension around logistics, and flashes of doubt about her ability to navigate this new terrain. She was no longer simply co-parenting. She was now confronted with decisions that could forge their future, entwined with a sense of urgency she'd never anticipated. With each revelation, a torrent of emotions came rushing forth: fear, worry, but also a stubborn rush of determination to protect and support her son. Emma realized this was a pivotal moment that reached beyond their individual pasts and spoke to their collective responsibility. Just as the conversation deepened, another text buzzed in her pocket, and the familiar name lit up her screen. "Emma, I need to talk to you, too." It was from her manager, and the tone suggested something significant waited behind it. The ground beneath her felt unsteady as she grappled with the intertwining of these two critical conversations. What new territory was she stepping into? As she faced him with renewed clarity and all the unknowns now merging, she wondered what awaited her on either side of this turning point. Emma felt the tightening coil of determination, knowing the weave of her narrative was about to change fundamentally. How would she balance both her son's health news and her professional ambitions in the coming days? In the heavy silence that followed, she inhaled deeply, prepared to confront a reality she had never expected. Emma stood at the threshold of transformation, feeling as if she had been propelled into an unexpected future, a convergence of vulnerability and strength. The conversation with her ex in the park had opened a doorway she never anticipated. As they discussed the implications of their son's health, she found clarity amidst the chaos of her emotions. "Complications?" she echoed, her voice steady. "What do we need to do?" The moment was no longer just about logistics. It was about collaboration born from shared responsibility. "Well," he began, visibly relieved by her immediate focus, "we should consult a specialist as soon as possible. If there's a potential issue, we need to be proactive. I know it's not easy, but I want to work together on this." Emma's heart swelled with unexpected gratitude. The instinct to unite for their child ignited something profound within her, a testament to how far they had come in their co-parenting journey. "Agreed," she responded, her voice firm. "Let's prioritize that. I can do some research and draw up a list of specialists we can contact." As they elaborated on their next steps, Emma could feel her confidence consolidating further. No longer was she merely reacting. She was taking control, steering their shared narrative toward a proactive co-parenting model. Each decision crafted in the interest of their son equipped her with the conviction to navigate her newfound responsibilities. Weeks later, as her professional life continued to flourish, Emma managed to balance the complexities of motherhood and her work. The promotion she once accepted with trepidation became a source of pride as she led her team through challenging projects. Stakeholders recognized her strategic insights, and she earned respect for her commitment in a demanding corporate environment. A presentation day, one that would cradle her growth, loomed ahead. Waking on the day of her presentation, Emma stepped towards her mirror, donning the smart attire she had carefully selected the night before. Who was she? No longer the girl shackled by insecurities, but a confident professional nurturing her capabilities and aspirations. The nuances of motherhood and ambition thrived in harmony. As she entered the conference room packed with colleagues and directors, she felt a rush of adrenaline. This was her moment, a culmination of effort, growth, and newfound identity. The presentation unfolded seamlessly, her passion ignited in tandem with her vision. Each statistic, each strategy, was a reflection of her hard work, each word infused with the spirit of someone who had conquered challenges both personal and professional. When she concluded the presentation, applause erupted around her, echoes of recognition ringing true. "Well done, Emma. You've proven to be an essential asset to our team," her manager noted, pride illuminating his expression. The acknowledgement filled her chest with warmth, a recognition of competence that validated her journey. That evening, Emma received a message from her ex, quietly celebrating their son's health steadying in recent checkups. "We did this," he texted, a hint of pride woven into his words. "I appreciate how we handled everything together." Emma smiled at the screen, understanding the significance of what they had built, a foundation of co-parenting anchored in mutual respect. They were not just co-parents now but partners navigating a crucial chapter of their lives, essential allies for their son. Later, with a sense of fulfillment washing over her, Emma opened her laptop and revisited her blog, now a platform that resonated with her voice, experiences, and thoughts. She drafted a celebratory post about her recent achievements, the challenges she'd navigated, and the power of collaborative parenting. It was cathartic, a way for her to once again express the evolution she had undergone. That post attracted a wave of responses, people resonating with her stories of growth, empowerment, and co-parenting triumphs. Comments flooded in, with many sharing their journeys of overcoming personal obstacles. Much like Emma's, she had transformed from a passive participant in life to an active architect of her own future, embodying the essence of personal growth and fulfillment. The convergence of motherhood, ambition, and collaboration had illuminated the path ahead. Every challenge faced forged the woman she had become. This metamorphosis solidified her newfound identity, one grounded in confidence, responsibility, and the endless potential for growth. As she closed her laptop for the night, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and satisfaction. She was no longer merely the poor girl dreaming of a different life. She was a mother, a professional, an empowered individual poised to carve out a meaningful existence. This was her story, a narrative rewritten through fierce determination and resilience, a story of self-rediscovery that transcended adversity. Now is the moment to embrace your own journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let your support be heard. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Your thoughts matter. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to support our channel now. True fans of personal overcoming stories know the importance of these actions. Don't wait even one more second.